Okay, I'm just going to wait for people to join, then we'll start. I'll close the door now. Okay, let's wait for people to join. Okay, I think we should start now since most people have joined. Okay, for today's tutorial, right, we'll be learning two things. This tutorial is based on requests, okay? It's based on requests. I got this message like 2 weeks ago, and we'll be learning how to take proper measurements if you want to make your bubu. We'll be learning how to take proper measurements. According to the person, she wants to learn how to take proper measurements if you are making a bubu gown, a big gown, and how many inches you need to add when making a bubu. And the second tutorial we are going to do today is how to make a fitted pants. Okay, I have tutorial on how to make palazzo, I have tutorials on how to make a flare pants, but this particular tutorial will be how to make fitted pants. Okay, so we'll start by learning how to take proper measurements for bubu, and then we'll move over to the second one. So if you want to make your bubu, right, we already know when you want to take your shoulder measurements for a fitted outfit, a fitted top, a fitted gown, right? I'll just bring this closer. Okay, so if you want to take measurements for a fitted gown, a fitted top, normally we'll place our measurements from here. Can you see it properly? Okay. We'll normally place our measurements from here to this very end, right? If you are making a gown or a fitted top, whatever. So, but when it comes to bubu, you don't place the tape here. I prefer to bring your tape down, right? As if you are taking measurements for your arm. You bring the tape down. You don't just stop here. Because you know bubu is a fitted, bubu is a big gown. It's something very free. So you don't have to stop the shoulder here as if you are making a normal gown or a top. So normally you bring the tape down. Can you see? Let me bring it closer. You bring the tape down and take it to the other side down. So let's assume if I want to make gown, let's assume this is my client, right? And I want to make gown for this particular client. I will take my measurement from here, all right, to just this place. So now this thing is giving me 14. So if I'm making a gown or a top for this particular client of mine, I'll be using 14 as a shoulder measurement. But if I'm making a bubu or a big gown, something that is going to be very free, I'll bring down my tape, right? I'll bring down my tape to this end. Now, instead of using 14 for the shoulder, I'll now be making use of 16, right? Because I don't want the shoulder of my bubu to end here, right? I want it to come down a little because it's a free outfit. The shoulder shouldn't be hanging, all right? That is how you take measurements when it comes to bubu. Now, I hope we get that right for the shoulder. If you have any questions, just drop it and I'll reply. So for how many inches one needs to add when it comes to making a bubu, we have two types of bubu. The one that is very, very free and the one that is just a bit free. So let's assume you want a bubu, your client wants a bubu that is not that free, all right? You'll be using the biggest measurement of your body. We have the bust, the waist, and the hip. So let's assume your bust is 40, but your hip is 44. We'll be making use of 44 for the bubu measurement, okay? Now, if we're making use of 44 divided by 4, all right? We'll still go to the table and do the math, okay? I just want to, before the practical, let's do some theory, okay? Let's assume now that your hip measurement is 44, okay? Your hip measurement is 44. 44 divided by 4. Of course, you know, we divide our measurement by 4 when cutting an outfit, okay? 44 divided by 4 will give you 11, right? 11. So if I want that bubu to be that free, very free, after that 11, I will add extra 4 inches while cutting it. So 11 plus 4 will give me how many? 15. So when I'm cutting that bubu, I'm going to use 15 for both my bust, my waist, and my hip when cutting that bubu gown, okay? Your normal hip is 11, which is 44. But because you want it to be very free, you add 4 inches, all right? So 44 divided by 4 will give you 11. Now, when you add 4 inches, you are making use of 15 when cutting that bubu. Now, for example, I'm someone that don't like my bubu to be that free. What I will do is, now my hip measurement is 44, right? 44 plus 4 will give us how many? 46, right? 46 divided by 4 will be giving us 46 divided by 4, that is 13, right? No, sorry. 11 is 44, 12 is 48, then 46 will be 11 and a half, right? So I just want something that will just be a little bit free, not something that will be too free. I might use 46 or 48. Now I'm adding the measurement to my own measurement before cutting it, all right? The other one, you place your measurement, then you add how many allowance that you want. But the second option you need to do, you add the allowance that you want to your measurement before dividing it. Now, when you are doing that one, just know that your bubu will not be that free like you want, all right? If you want, you can add 4 inch, you can add 6 inch, then you divide by 4 before cutting it, okay? You divide by 4. So if my measurement is 44, and I add 4 inches, which is 48. Sorry, I made a mistake the last time, which is 48. Now I added 4 to my hip, which is 48. If I divide that 48 by 4, it will give me 12. Now I'm using 12 to cut my bubu. Note that bubu will not be that free, okay? That bubu will not be that free if you are using that particular style. But if you want your bubu to be that free, Sorry. But if you want your bubu to be that free, all you need to do is when you measure, you add all the inches, how many inches you want to make that bubu free. All right, so that is what you do. Now, the next thing we are going to do is to calculate. We'll go to the table and do practical about everything we have just said now. I'll take you to the table and we'll practicalize it so you understand, not just by saying it, but you see what I'm trying to say. All right, I'll just bring the phone closer so you guys will see what I'll switch over. Okay. All right, so according to what we discussed, I said if you don't want your bubu to be that free, all right, if you don't want your bubu to be that free, let's assume your hip is 44, because we'll be making use of the biggest size of your measurement, right? You will not use your waist measurement, you will not use your hip measurement. You'll be making use of the biggest part of your body, which is your hip. So let's assume your bust is 40, your waist is 30, and your hip is 44. Now we'll be making use of 44 when cutting a bubu and not 40, because it's a free gown. All right, now if you don't want the bubu to be that big, like I said, 44 plus 4 will give you 48, right? 44 plus 4 will give you 48. Now you will now divide this 48 by 4, which will give you 12. Okay, you divide this 48 by 4, which will give you 12. Now when cutting your bubu, you will use 12 as your measurement when cutting. But if you want the bubu to be very free, now what you need to do is 44 divided by 4 will give you what? 11, right? So when cutting the bubu, all you need to do is you mark 11, then you add 4 inches. 4 inches plus 11 will give you 15. So if you want your bubu to be that free, you either use this first method or you use the second method. Now let me show you something. Let me clean my camera. I think it's a bit blur. Let me clean the back camera. Okay, I think it's better now. All right, so let's assume I want to cut bubu, right? I want to cut my bubu gown now. Okay. Just want to place. Okay, hope we can see it very well. Let's assume that I want to cut bubu, okay? Now, my normal shoulder, right? My normal shoulder is 14. But because I'm making a bubu, just like I showed you guys before, now I'll be using what? 16. All right, I'll be using 16. And the length of my sleeve length for that bubu, let's assume the sleeve length is 8. All right, the sleeve length is 8. 16 plus 8 will give us 24, right? 16 plus 8 will give us 24. Okay, so if you are cutting a cut together bubu gown, a cut together bubu gown is a situation whereby you will cut both your shoulder and your sleeve length together. All right, not like the usual gown whereby you cut your shoulder out, then you cut your sleeve, and then you attach. If you are doing a cut together bubu, you are going to cut both the shoulder and the sleeve length together. Okay, that's why I said the shoulder for this bubu now is 16. Now the sleeve length is 8, making it a total of 24. Now we are going to be making use of 24 when cutting. So let's just do some practical work. I hope my camera is visible enough. So now, my shoulder is 16, right? Sorry, my shoulder is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8, right? 16 divided by 2 is 8. Now my sleeve length is 8. So we are making use of 16, right? Okay. Now this is the shoulder. The shoulder is 16 on a normal 16. Because it's on fold, the shoulder is 16 because it's on fold. We are making use of half of the shoulder measurement, which is 8. Okay, the normal shoulder measurement is 16, but because it is on fold, we are making use of 8. 16 divided by 2 will give you 8. That's why we're making use of 8. Now we'll mark 8, right? I'll mark 8 here. This is my shoulder. Now the sleeve length I'm making use of is also 8. I'll mark that 8 as well. Remember, this is a cut together Bubu gown. Now I'll mark that 8 as well. Now this is for my sleeve length, right? I've marked the 8. Now I'm going to add my sewing allowance, folding allowance and all. Let's assume my sewing plus the folding allowance is 2 inches. So you add the 2 inches as well here. So from here to here is the sleeve length of the shoulder of the, is the sleeve length. From here to here is the sleeve length. While from here to here is the shoulder measurement. Like we said, the shoulder measurement is 16 divided by 2 is 8, right? Because the fabric is on fold, right? The fabric is on fold. Now this is 8 for the shoulder. This is 8 for the sleeve length, and this 2 inches is for folding allowance and all for the sleeve. All right, now you'll be wondering, so how do we take the roundness of the sleeve, the roundness of your sleeve? Let's assume the roundness of your sleeve is, we'll just use a random measurement. Let's assume the roundness of your sleeve is let's say 12 inches. All right, you want to make use of 12 inches. Six into 2 will give you 12. So you mark 6 here. Not if your the roundness of your sleeve is 12, you are not going to place 12, because if you place 12, that means in total it will be 24, right? 12 divided by 2 is 6 because it's on fold, right? We are cutting 2. We are cutting both the back and the front together. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Okay, we are cutting 2. This is on fold. So if the roundness of your arm or your sleeve is 12 inches, you divide it by 2. You're not going to just place 12 once. If you place 12 like this, that means in total you'll be getting 24, right? In total you'll be getting 24. But since we're making use of 12, we're going to place 6. Then when you place 6, right, you are going to add sewing allowance both for holding of your shoulder and for holding the sleeve, right? So this is how to cut a bubu. Let's just, okay. So this is 6, right? This is 6. And probably I want to add 1.5, both for holding of shoulder and for just generally sewing allowance. Because when you hold the shoulder, it will reduce this measurement, right? Then when you shape the sleeve, it's still going to reduce. So let's assume I want to add like 1.5 inch, right? So that when I use 1/2 inch for holding the shoulder, The remaining 1 inch, I will use it for holding the sleeve. When you get this, then you take your body measurement, okay? When you take your body measurement, so like I said, let's assume the body measurement is 15 in total. You start marking. You mark it round, then you connect this together like this, right? You connect both together, then you take measurements for your neckline and the rest of the body, right? You take measurements and you take it all down. So this is for bubu. Like I said, if you want your bubu not to be that free, all right, I will explain again. If you want your bubu not to be that free, let's assume your hip measurement is 44, okay? Before placing the measurement on the fabric, 44, just add like 4 inches. 44 plus 4 will give you 48, okay? 44 plus 4 will give you 48. Then 48 divided by 4 will give you 12. Now we'll be making use of 12 when cutting that bubu. We're making use of 12. Then in total, you just added 4 inches in total to your measurement. But if you want your bubu to be very, very free, all you need to do is 44 divided by 4. 44 is your normal hip measurement. 44 divided by 4 will give you 11. 11, then you add 4 inches to that measurement. Now you'll be making use of 15. So you see the difference. This particular one, you are using 12 inches. While this particular one, you are using 15 inches, 3 inches different. When I say 4 inches, if you want yours to be now too big, right, add more than 4 inches. But I basically just use 4 inches for mine. You can add more than 4 inches if you want yours to be very, very, very large, okay? But if your hip is 44 and you add 4 inches after dividing, then in total 15 times 4 will now give you 60. So if you are using 60 for your measurement, it's still very big, right? 40, your normal measurement is 44. Now you are using 60. It's still very big, all right? So you added, in total, you added 16 inches in total. Okay, you added 16 inches in total. So that is for bubu gown. All right, that is for bubu gown. So let's move over to if you want to cut a normal pants, because the 2 tutorial that was requested is how to take measurements for bubu and how to cut a normal pants. Like when I mean a normal pants, sorry, a fitted pants. Okay, a fitted pants. All right, so we're learning how. I'll still do a video for this, but let me just do a well-detailed explanation how to cut a fitted pants. All right, now let's just write down our measurements. Okay, let's assume our waist is 30, our hip is 40, right? Our thigh is 20, let's say 26. Yeah. Then our knee length, let's assume our knee length is 18. Then our crotch depth, let's assume our crotch depth is let's make use of 11. Then trouser length, let's assume the trouser length is 40. Okay, so these are the measurements we'll be using: waist 30, hip 30, thigh 26, knee length 18, crotch depth 11, trouser length 40. Then for this knee length, let's assume the knee length is 18. Then the roundness of the knee, let's assume the roundness of the knee is 20. It's 20. Then ankle measurements, let's assume is let's say 16. Yeah, let's say 16, or let's use 14. Let's use 14. So this is the measurements we'll be making use of for the trouser: waist 30, hip 40, thigh 26. You know what is thigh, right? The knee length 18. Then the roundness of the knee 20. Crotch depth 11. Trouser length 40. Then the ankle measurement, that means the roundness of the ankle 14. Okay, we'll be using this pattern paper for it. Let me position this camera well. Okay, I think it's better now. Okay, now what I normally do before I cut out my trouser is I measure 1 inch by the side. I'll just measure 1 inch by the side and roll. So let's go. So measuring 1. So I'll roll. So yeah, after measuring this 1 inch, the next thing I'm going to do is to place all the measurements where I'll be taking each one from, right? So of course, if you are making a trouser or anything that has bands, what you need to do, let's assume for this trouser I'm making, right? For this trouser I'm making, I'll be making use of 2 inches band for this trouser. Let's assume for this particular tutorial, the measurement for the band is 2 inches. All right. I'm not going to place my tape at 2 because now these 2 inches I'm placing out here is for the band measurement. But I'm not going to place my tape like that. I'm going to place my tape at 1.5, which is 1.5 inch, instead of 2 inches. Now, the reason why I'm placing my tape at 1.5 is that when I placed my tape at 1.5, meaning I subtracted 1.5 from the measurement, and the measurement for the band is 2 inches. But when I'm going to add the band to the trouser, after making the trouser and I want to attach the band, of course I'm still going to use half an inch when attaching that band. So I'm still going to subtract half an inch from the trouser before I attach the band. So if I subtract half an inch here, meaning I'm making use of, I've subtracted half an inch from the measurement, and then I'm using 1.5 as the band measurement. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I will come again. Now, if I place my tape at 2 inches, right, instead of 1.5, let me assume I place my tape at 2 inches, all right, instead of 1.5 I normally use. If I place my tape at 2 inches, now if I want to add the band measurement, all right, if I want to add the band measurement, I will still use half an inch, okay, when attaching the band. So normally this trouser, I will remove half an inch when attaching the band, meaning what I subtracted in total will now be 2.5 and not 2 inches. All right, but if I make use of 1.5, if I subtract 1.5 for the measurement and the band is 2 inches band I'm using, after subtracting 1.5 and I use half inch for sewing, it's now balanced up the 2 inches for the band. If you are still confused, let me know and I will come again. All right, now I will place my tape at 1.5. My hip line, normally hip line, it depends on the height of the person though, 9 for hip, but majorly it's between 8 and 9. Like I said, it depends on the height of the person, but majorly 8 and 9 for hip. Now, like I said, hope you're seeing it very well. Let me bring this down a little. Okay, I think it's better. Okay, it's better now. Now, the crotch depth is 11. I will mark 11. Okay, this is hip line. This is the crotch line, which is 11. Now for my knee, the knee length, we wrote 18. Now I will mark 18. Then the full measurement is 40. I will mark 40. Now just draw a straight line across it. Okay. So let's start taking our measurements. All right. Now for the hip, we said the hip is 40. Now divided by 4 will give you 10, right? And the waist measurement is 30. Divided by 4 will give you 7.5, right? Which is 7.5. Then for the hip, 10. Then when it comes to the thigh, we know for your thigh measurement, you divide by 2 and not by 4. For your thigh, you divide by 2 and not by 4. 26 divided by 2 will give you 13. Now for the knee, the same thing applies to the roundness of the knee. We divide by 2 and not by 4. 20 divided by 2 will give us 10. Now for the ankle, we divide by 2. Divided by 2, 14 divided by 2 will give us 7. So let's take our measurement. So the hip is 40, right? Okay, this is the hip line. This is the crotch line, right? This is for the knee. Here is for the waist. And here is the trouser length. So for the hip is 10. I'll mark 10. That 10, I'll mark it at the crotch line as well. Right? You start from this place. This place I subtracted 1, right? Is not among the measurements you are adding. You leave it, and from where that 1 starts from, you take your measurements, okay? Now for the waist is 7.5. But I will still place the measurement for the hip at the waist area. All right, I'm not going to mark that 7.5. So I'm going to mark 10 inches. Like we said, the measurement for the hip is 10, right? I'll mark it at the waist area as well. I marked the same 10 here. So I mark 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. All right. Then I'll rule a straight line. Now, the time measurement is 13. So we've already marked 10. Now we are going to extend it to 13. So we are adding 3 inches. So I added 3. Then I'll rule a line across. All right. I added 3. So everything now is 13 for the crotch. So when it comes to the crotch, I'm going to go up by 1 from this. From the crotch line, I will go up by 1. Then you will connect. If you have a curve rule, let me get my curve rule, so we'll just connect it. So I've connected it, all right? If you don't have a curve ruler, you can use your free hand if you trust your free hand, okay? All right. Now we have taken our crotch measurement. Now the next measurement is our waist measurement. Now we already said our waist measurement is 7.5. So from this place we mark for the hip. Of course, you know we took 10. Now we are going to subtract the waist from here. So I'll just mark 7.5, which is the normal or actual waist measurement, okay? Of course, you know, when it comes to cutting trouser, you don't put any allowance at the front measurement. You put any allowance you want to add for your trouser, you add it at the back. What did I say? When you are cutting a trouser, you don't add allowance at the front, you add any allowance you want to add, you add it at the back, right? But if it's a trouser that you want to add, let's assume you want to add that to the front of your trouser, all right? I will advise, since this measurement is 7.5, you can add 1 inches to it. That is if the trouser will have that at the front, right? So let's assume this trouser will not have that. If the trouser will have that, instead of marking 7.5 here, I will mark 8.5. Okay, do you get? Now we are going to mark our 7.5. Now this is our 7.5. This is our normal waist measurement. Now you are going to connect this measurement to the hip. Look at the hip here. So I'll just use my free hand. Now I've connected it to the hip. All right, I've connected the measurement to the hip. Okay. So the next thing to do is to take our knee measurement. Now, to take your knee measurement, the first thing you need to do, the measurement we use for the crotch is 13, right? Let me measure it again. The measurement we used is 13. For the crotch measurement, we made use of 13. Now, I'm going to transfer that 13 to the knee, and I'll transfer it to the trouser length as well before we start taking our knee measurement and our ankle measurement. All right. Now, this is the knee measurement, right? I will mark 13. 13 is the crotch measurement. Remember, I will mark 13. Now, I will go over to the trouser length and I'll mark that 13 as well. I've marked 13, all right? Now, our knee measurement is what? Our knee measurement is 10, all right? Our knee measurement is 10. Now, what do you need to do? The crotch measurement is 13. You are going to divide that 13 by 2. So you place your tape like this. And you divide by 2. So it's giving us 6.5, 6.5. You mark that 6.5. This is the middle point of the measurement. You mark 6.5. Now, our knee measurement is 10. All right, the knee measurement is 10. So what I need to do is, I will take 5 here, which is half of the measurement. From this point, all right, from the middle point, you take 5. Now come over to this other side and you take 5 as well. In total, we've gotten the 10, which is for the knee. All right, how did we get here? Like I said, any measurement you have for your crotch, our crotch, any measurement you have for your thigh, you transfer it here. Now, measurement for the thigh is 13. Like I said, the thigh measurement is 13. Now, this is 13. I transfer that 13 to the knee. All right. After transferring it to the knee, 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. I marked 6.5. All right. This is the midpoint of 13. Right. I marked 6.5. Then from that middle, I measured 5 here for the right hand side. Then I measured 5 here for the left hand side. All right, making it a total of 10. Now let's measure. Have you seen it? Now it has given us 10, which is our measurement. All right. 5 here, we marked 5 here, and we marked 5 here as well. 5 here, 5 here, giving us a total of 10. Okay. Now, We'll do the same thing for the trouser length. We've already marked 13, which is the thigh measurement. We mark 13. Now 13 divided by 2 will give us 6.5 as well. 6.5. Now the ankle measurement we are using is 7. 7 divided by 2 will give us 3.5. So 3.5, I'll mark 3.5 at the left hand side. I'll mark 3.5 at the right hand side. After that, you connect all the whole lines together. So I'll connect here and place it like that. Connect here, then connect here. Connect here as well. So this is it for your fitted trouser. All right, this is it for your fitted trouser. Okay, I'll still explain again. Let me explain again so the person that requested for this will understand better. All right. Like I said, the first thing you need to do is to take your full length measurement. And like we said, the full length of this trouser, the trouser length is 40. The trouser length is 40, right? Now, we're making use of 2 inches band for the trouser. We are making use of 2 inches band for this particular trouser, all right? Instead of placing my tape, normally you are meant to subtract the 2 inches band for the trouser. So instead of subtracting exactly 2 inches, I'm going to subtract 1.5. Now the reason I'm subtracting 1.5, like I said, is because this remaining ½ inch will be for sewing, will be for the sewing allowance, right? This remaining ½ inch will be for sewing, because if you subtract exactly 2 inches and you remove ½ inch for sewing, that means everything is subtracted is 2.5. All right, now everything is subtracted is 2.5, and the normal measurement for the band is 2 inches. After sewing, when you are done with your sewing, your trouser will be shortened ½ inch. All right, if you do it that way, your trouser will be shortened ½ inch. Okay, so now whatever thing you are using for your band, if you are using 3 inches for your band, then you minus 2.5. If you are using 4 inches for your band, you minus 3.5. If you are using 1 inch for your band, then you minus ½ inch, right? If you are using 2 inch, you minus 1.5 for your band. Then when you minus the 1.5, then you get your full length measurement. Then you mark your full length measurement. Now, after minusing the 1.5, I marked 9, which is for the hip line. I marked 11 for the crotch depth, right? 11, I'm making use of 11 for the crotch depth. Then the knee depth, the knee length of the trouser, knee length, your knee from your waist to your knee, I marked 18 for the knee. Now the full length is 40. That's the first thing I did. Then the next thing to do is you start taking all your measurements. You mark a straight line round each to know the hip, the crotch, the knee, and the trouser length. Then when you are done doing that, the knee divided by 4, like I said, for your waist, you divide by 4. We made use of 30 for the waist measurement. 30 divided by 4, which is 7.5. And for the hip, we made use of 40. 40 divided by 4, which is 10. Now for the thigh The tie is different. You don't divide your tie by 4. You divide by 2 only. All right, you divide by 2. It's different for the tie. You don't divide your tie by 4, you divide by 2. Now let's assume the roundness of your tie is 26. Divided by 2 is 13. Now for the knee length is 18. Then the roundness of the knee is 20. Right? So since the roundness of the knee is 20, we are going to divide that roundness by 2, which is 10. That's why I wrote 10 here. Now the crotch depth 11, trouser length 14. Now for the ankle measurement, the ankle, which is the roundness of your ankle, 14 divided by 2 is 7. Then I wrote 7 here. Now the first thing I did was I measured my hip, which is 10, and I marked 10. Before then, like I said, before you start cutting your trouser, subtract 1 inch by the side. This is the 1 inch I subtracted by the side, right? I subtracted 1 inch from this place. I subtracted 1 inch. Before I started taking all measurement, I subtracted 1 inch and I just marked it there. So in taking the hip measurement, I did not place my tape here in taking the hip, right? I placed my tape here in taking the hip measurement. Then I marked 10. I came down to the crotch area. This crotch area is where you take your thigh measurement. And I marked, for this crotch area, I marked 10 as well, all right? I marked 10. This is 10. I marked it here. Then for our crotch, remember we said for our thigh measurement is 13. I added 3 inches to the measurement, making it a total of 13. Then I went up from here. I went up by 1 inch. I marked the 1 inch. Then I connected it with this curve rule. I connected it with this curve rule. All right? I connected it like that. Now for the waist, from this place, I also took 10. I marked 10. After the one we subtracted, I marked 10. Right? After marking 10, I took the hip the waist measurement. The waist measurement is 7.5. From here, after marking the 10 and joining it to this place, I now picked my waist measurement. From here, I measured the waist. The waist is 7.5. Then I marked 7.5. All right. I did not just place my tape here and I took the 7.5. No, I took 10. Then after taking that 10, which is the hip measurement, from this place, I marked 7.5, which is the normal waist measurement. Like I said, when you are taking measurements for your trouser, when you are cutting your trouser, you don't add allowance to the front area of your trouser or of your pants. You add the allowance to the back measurements. All right, any allowance you want to use, you add it to the back. I don't add any allowance to the front. You add your allowance to the back. But if you want the pants to have darts at the front, for me, I usually add 1 inch extra. Let's assume this particular trouser, I want it to have darts. I will just add 1 inch extra. This 1 inch is for just the darts, okay, not for the allowance. Any allowance I want, I will add it to the back. The 1 inch I'm adding is just for the darts. All right, it's just for the darts. Now after that, I now connected it to meet the hip. All right, I connected it to meet the hip. Okay, but if your waist is going to have elastic, this is for trousers with zip. If your waist is going to have elastic, you don't need to remove anything from your waist. You leave the measurements like that. If your trouser is going to have elastic, not zip, don't remove anything. Leave the measurements like that. Do not remove anything. Now, we are done with this place and we are done with this place. Now for the knee, how did I get this knee measurement? Like I said, the roundness of the knee is 20, divided by 2 is 10. So what I did was, this thigh here is 13, right? Here is 13. I transferred that 13 to this place. Look at it. That's why I put a point here. I marked 13. Now, 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5, which is 6.5. I marked that 6.5 at the middle. Just to locate the middle of this trouser, I marked that 6.5. Now, the roundness of the knee we are looking for is 10. All right, is 10. So what did I do? From the midpoint, I marked 5 here. From here, I marked another 5. So whatever you are doing at the right hand side, you also transfer it to the left hand side. Okay, whatever you do to the right hand side, you do it to the left hand side. All right, of course, you know our legs are not straight like this. No, our legs are not straight like this. Okay, that's why you do all this proper calculation before cutting your trouser. Now, I marked 5 here and I marked 5 here. In total, it gave me 10 inches, which we are looking for. Now, this 13, I also transferred it to the trouser length. I transferred it here. Yes, I marked the 13. Then the midpoint of 13, which is 6.5, right? Now, what the measurement you are looking for the ankle is just 7 inches, all right? We have 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So what did I do? From this midpoint, 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I marked 3.5 here, then 3.5 here. Of course, you know, 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. 3.5 here, another 3.5 here, making it a total of 7 that we are looking for. Then after that, I connected all the lines together, and as you can see, it's not that straight. You only use straight measurement if you are cutting a bubu, if you are cutting a palazzo trouser, a palazzo pant. If it was a palazzo pant, there will be no need for these calculations. I will just, from there, I will take it straight down, everything straight, and I will cut because it's palazzo. But because this is a fitted pant, you want to give it that fitting. You want to give your pants that curve that it deserves. It's as if you are cutting a skirt, that you want to do all those calculations to give your skirt that curve. So this is what I normally do to my trouser to give it that fitting that I want. And it will not have that excess bulge at the crotch area. All right, it will not have that excess bulge at the crotch area. Okay, so if you have any question, please let me know. Okay. So that being said, our next tutorial will be on bubu and fitted pants. I'll still do that tutorial again, or we'll do a tutorial on shirts. Anyone, like I said, if you have any one in mind that you want me to lay emphasis on, do well to send me a DM. You can send me a direct message, email me. You can email me, or you can drop it under the comment section and I will do well to reply. Okay, so this is it for fitted pants. When you are free, you can go through it again, just like I explained. You can go through it again. Now, okay, let me turn this over. Or let me make use of this one as well. So let's assume after cutting this fitted, the front part. Of course, this is the front part. If you want to cut now for the back, you now start adding all your measurements. You start adding all your measurements here. You can add you add 2 inches here. Here you can add either 2.5 or 3 inches. Yeah, the same thing, 2.5 or 3 inches. You add it here. Then you connect it. So every allowance you add it at the back. You add every allowance at the front, and of course, you know, when cutting the back should be higher than the front. Okay, so if, let's assume, after cutting the front, if you want to cut the back, when you get to this place, you add like 2 inches to this place. When you add the 2 inches, you connect it to this place. All right, you connect it to this place. Then like I said, use your free hand, use your curve if you don't trust your free hand. So this is how you just add all your allowance. All right, you add all your allowance to this place. All right, then you add extra 2 inches at the top, then you connect it to the side for the back. That is, when you are done cutting the front, you place the front when cutting the back, and you add your allowance. Don't add any allowance to the front except you want to add that to the front part. So yeah, so we are done for this one. You can go through it later. We did 2 tutorials today: how to take measurements for bubu and how many inches you need to add when cutting a bubu, right? And how to cut a fitted pant. Okay. Okay, so which tutorial do you people think we should do next? Okay, so if you have any question concerning what we just learned, you can drop it in the comment section and I'll definitely reply. Okay, so we are done for today. So see you guys in another life.